Okay, guys, so really exciting stuff with the NCAA waiver. Obviously, if you guys want to voluntarily come in and do things, then we can do some live stuff. We can also still do stuff like this where we're looking at different types of formations and different types of things that are available for you guys as resources if you wish to use them. So we've gone over how we want to play, but I think it's important to also understand that the way the other team sets up determines how you adjust your shape. So what we're going to do in this session today is we're going to look at how our 4-2-3-1 adapts to different types of systems. So we're going to look at how there are advantages in it playing against the 4-4-2 and how there's advantages playing it in the 4-1-4-1. Note that if they play exactly the same system, it's just a player for player matchup, and then that means that it comes down to the individual battles. Okay, so we are the team in yellow, and the opposition is playing a 4-1-4-1. This system matched up against a 4-2-3-1 is really easy when you're pressing high, because you can eliminate these four players out of the game all the time. So as the ball gets switched and 9 cuts off 8, you can either hold your spaces and really keep the lines really compact, where this player has to now make a decision if they want to go all the way to the other side or if they want to play through really tight lines, which means they're going to have to be really technical in order to accomplish that. The other thing is, if we press, we can all slide in and just fill spaces where it almost forces the other team to still go into a long space diagonally or to turn the ball over in here. What ultimately ends up happening is, because they're spread out, there's larger gaps to play through. So if they give the ball away here, we're narrowing the gaps here where we 3v2 if you break the line. So there's really big high advantages for us getting our shape and really being narrow. I want you to note that playing in this system where we have the 3 players that are narrow and in this level, the reason why they're not high is because now those players are not marking man on man. They now have to make a decision. There's 3 versus 1 in here. So these players have to make a decision if they want to step up in the space. This leaves a gap over here that we can exploit. If they decide not to step up, it's going to force one of these players to drop in a whole lot deeper, and then their whole shape is distorted. If the team now plays a 4-4-2, we again have that numerical advantage in the midfield, where the fullbacks have to decide if they're going to step in that space, which now creates the space down the flanks, or this player has to drop in, which means they've really lost their shape again. The big advantage of the 4-4-2 is you have 5v4 in the center of the park, but what happens is when you break this line, you're creating situations where your holding midfielder has to step out to the ball, or they have to drop in, and so there's a large amount of space to possibly work in. But even if they step into a space to mark a player, you're still going to have space over here to work. So playing out in a 4-1-4-1 forces one of these midfielders to have to make a decision to step out to the ball or drop in and just hold their space. If they step out, this just creates a whole big hole where we can play in through the lines. Okay, because these players are playing in one level, okay, we now have a situation where there's either a gap here to work in to play the ball through, or if this player squeezes in, there's a whole lot of space over here where we create overloads. All right, the whole advantage of having the sweeper is that they have time on the ball and they have to move the ball out to one of the sides. We still have that option of going back to them, but there's always a quick flat ball up the line here into this run. That's where the space is. That's why I say we always have to look for the space. Doesn't matter about your starting position, just look for the space. Even if this player steps in here, there's still a whole lot of space to work in here and possibly create an overload here with an overlapping run, or 10 making the run into that space to possibly create the overload on the side here, or possibly allow this player to go infield with the ball and create numbers up in the center of the park. If we play similar systems, you'll note that there will be a numerical advantage over here for the opposition, and there'll be a numerical advantage over here. The key to this type of setup on the field is that you make sure your lines are really compact in between the lines, and your lines are really compact vertically over here. So then they have to play out to the sides, which is easier once they play out to the sides for the whole team to just shift over and press the ball in the areas that we want.